All right, guys, let's have a talk. So, I've recently been learning a lot, listening a lot to these books on law of attraction, manifestation, all that stuff. I mean, it's super interesting. I like the idea of it, but at the same time I'm like, okay, I still know that people need to take action, and I still know even myself I need to take action. I mean, I'd love to manifest stuff, but I believe you still need to take action. And but what I love about the books, the law of attraction books, and there's this YouTube channel called the Master Key System, and they read these great books by Neville Goddard and Think and Grow Rich and all these super old books, and I really like reading them and listening to them. And what I love about the books is that they try to teach you to reprogram your subconscious mind. And they use tools like repetition, visualization, and becoming as if. So embodying the state of being in the future. And I love all these tools, and I use these tools when I coach people, but I don't teach that, because if they begin, acting as if they are living in Barbados, that they're going to suddenly end up in Barbados. And I can't say for sure that I know that is going to happen. Maybe with some people, like they describe, that's one of the examples from the book, is that they're able to do that. But I do know that when you change your subconscious mind, then you change your behavior and you change who you're being. And I've been thinking about a way to describe this better, and I've decided to start thinking of the subconscious mind as the automatic mind. So, what are you doing automatically without conscious awareness? So, when you can program your automatic mind, then you're already instantaneously changing the world around you. You're thinking differently, you're acting differently. So one of the books that I couldn't find online is called Instantaneous Personal Magnetism. And this book has always kind of had an interest because, Dr. Demartini mentioned it a couple of times. So I recently looked it up. Things like talked about voice, eye contact, and posture. But then it also talked about your internal state. And really what it came down to was a state of calmness and a state of non-reactivity and a state of purpose and a state of really knowing who you are and what you're here to do, and not allowing yourself to put people on a pedestal and become overreactive to them, to start withholding what you need to say and who you're being, and starting act. As soon as you put someone on a pedestal, you start to act different, speak differently, maybe become more quiet, maybe your voice tightens, you lose eye contact. So what that sort of book reminded me about was just this state of authenticity, this state of internal alignment, where you almost kind of disconnect from other people's opinions and other people's thoughts and other people's feelings in a way. And that kind of made me wonder, like, well, isn't that kind of becoming a little bit narcissistic, a little bit too self-involved, a little bit too detached? And the idea of people who are more horizontally connected, meaning they're very empathetic and they're very sensitive to people's feelings and their emotions, and they can read a room really well, but they're very disconnected from their own purpose, and somebody's opinion affects them too much so that they stop taking action, or they're a little bit too subordinate to others, and they're a little bit too sensitive to others. And then we've probably met people who are very connected to their purpose, and they're very driven, and they know exactly what they want to achieve, and they're actually kind of insensitive to people, and they kind of run through people like a bulldozer and just to get their objective done. So they're very vertically oriented. So this idea of personal magnetism kind of brings together both, where you are kind of walking a fine line between being very much on purpose, very centered and very true to yourself, but at the same time being aware and sensitive to others and their feelings and their opinions, but also not letting those control you, and not letting those opinions, those thoughts, those feelings take over and change your direction, and to change your mission, and to get in the way of your mission. So this book, Instantaneous Personal Magnetism, it took me a while to find it. I dug out the old PDFs and, but really that's just the idea behind it. And the idea behind it is just really being connected with yourself and your true purpose and who you are, and not letting these other people's thoughts, feelings, opinions get in your way, yet being sensitive to them. So you're not too pushy, but you're also, when you need to be pushy, when you need to say the truth or you need to challenge people, that's what you do. That's what you need to do, because to stay in alignment with yourself. If you're like some of the people listening to this, I'm imagining are like coaches and, more of this like very empathetic people. And so something to ask yourself, if you have a tendency to the horizontal orientation, is to ask yourself, am I abandoning myself right now? Am I abandoning myself right now? Am I giving up my purpose, what's true to myself? And I thought that was a really great question. And if you're very vertically focused, or if you swing too far to the other direction, because you could be very like empathetic with people, and then you get on purpose and you start to ignore people's feelings and your impact on them, you can ask yourself, am I abandoning the other person right now? So I thought that was a really good one. Yeah, so some other great questions are, am I being controlled by their feelings, or am I honoring their feelings while staying grounded? And when you're around someone who you may feel like is above you, instead of worrying about whether they're above you or whether they're below you or whatever, just get in touch with your authenticity and say, what's true here? What's true? And allow yourself to really honor that. Also, when you catch yourself comparing yourself to others, like you may find someone who's really successful and they're doing great, and they're doing what you want to do, and it can be intimidating, and it can also make you feel down on yourself. So ask yourself, what am I here to serve? Who am I here to serve? What's the highest action available to me right now? And instead of asking yourself like, who am I compared to them, just ask, what am I here to serve right now, and who am I here to serve? So you start to get back in touch with your purpose. So you don't allow that comparison thinking to go on where they're above you or they're below you, and just be like, okay, what's my purpose? What am I here to do? Who am I here to serve? And you can also start doing some of the Demartini Method, so you can notice what trait, action, or inaction you see in them that you really admire, and be like, where do I have that? Where do I have that in my own form? Where is what I see in them in me? And then you go to a moment where you've demonstrated that same action. You go to another moment, you go to another moment. And, this could take an hour. But you'll really see, once you get 10, 15, 20 moments, you really will start to see you have that same trait, action, or inaction to the person as the person that you're admiring. And then really what happens deep inside you is, once you truly own that trait, it gets into your subconscious mind. Now it becomes automatic. So the subconscious mind is whatever you believe is true is embedded in the subconscious mind. When you are certain and you know that that is true, that is now in the subconscious mind, and you automatically act on that information. So you can repeat affirmations. I am a genius and I apply my wisdom. But if you don't believe that you are a genius, if you don't have 20 examples of you perceiving yourself as a genius and you applying wisdom, you're not automatically going to act on that information, that programming. So by doing the method, the Demartini Method, you actually begin to program your subconscious mind, and it will automatically start to happen. It will automatically start to change your behavior. And that's where you start to become more calm, and you don't subordinate, and you appear confident around people, and you're relaxed, and you don't react. And this is where that personal magnetism comes in. You're relaxed, and you're calm, and you're directed, and you've used the tools to reprogram your subconscious mind. Yes. So going back. So when you see something in someone that you admire, you basically get back on purpose, figure out, how is this serving me? So how is someone else's success benefiting you? Instead of feeling like intimidated or feeling less worthy because they're doing it and you're not, ask yourself, how is their success benefiting you? How is it helping you on your mission? Going back to the manifestation, law of attraction, all that great stuff. What it comes down to is reprogramming your subconscious mind, changing what you believe is true. And so you're essentially designing your beliefs, the beliefs that you know will serve you, and now you are embedding them into your subconscious mind using the Demartini Method. These books recommend using repetition and visualization, which also works. I think it's a little slower though. And once it's truly in your subconscious mind, then you act spontaneously. So you take spontaneous action, and those spontaneous actions are also effortless. And then that's where the manifestation happens. Like the actions are so easy and natural that the manifestation seems like it is just happening. Like it's just happening. You're not even doing anything, yet you are doing things subconsciously, unnaturally, without effort. The difficulty is when people are trying to manifest things, it's when they're using force. They're trying to force past their programming. They're trying to push past their old beliefs of who they are, but they really believe those who they are. Like, let's say they're not smart. They really believe that's true. And they have evidence to back it up because they failed this test. They never graduated high school. They work at this warehouse, whatever it is. That's the evidence for them. And that's what they act on. So when they know deep down that there is something more that they have more potential within themselves, yet they're fighting this programming. So you have to go back and change the programming in order for their environment, for their behavior to change. Once your programming changes, your actions change, and you start to change your life, your environment, the way you relate to people, the way you speak, the way you present yourself, and what you pay attention to, what opportunities you see. So everything starts to snowball from there. But you have to go back and change the programming. And yeah, that's what a lot of these manifestation books are trying to do, trying to teach. So I kind of came up with a bit of a process. So the first thing for changing your, let's call it programming, is to regulate your nervous system. And that's just to kind of calm your body down. So breathe, right? Breathe in, hold, breathe out slowly, right? So they teach to the slower you breathe out, the more relaxed your nervous system becomes. So we've all had this where something happened, we got really super jacked up or nervous, or and we needed to kind of take a breath and breathe. And breathing and breath work has been taught through the ages. We all know it calms us down, although we give it such little value. But just calming the nervous system down, just relaxing. And then there's these other methods that people have come up with now, like the EFT tapping, where you tap on your body. And I love these, and I do these because it just grounds me. It just gets me calm. It gets me in my body. And the last one I really enjoy doing is doing the VOO, VOO. It's like vibrates from your chest down to your stomach. You take a deep breath and you go VOO, and it vibrates your vagus nerve, and it helps you to calm your nervous system, get you out of fight or flight and freeze. Anyways, so these are the regulate steps, and that's the first thing you need to do. So some people they're okay, they don't need that, but you do need to have a way to regulate your nervous system when you're jacked up, and that's just the somatic approach, and it's quick and easy. Then you can start to release your emotions. So again, this is all for reprogramming your subconscious mind. But we have all these charges in our body, all these charges in our memories, and all. So these emotional charges, and we have been suppressing them. We've been distracting ourselves from them. We've been ignoring them. We've been, overworking so we don't have to feel things, watching television, scrolling, drinking, any distraction we can think of so that we don't have to feel our emotions, eating, everything. So instead of suppressing and ignoring our feelings, Why don't we allow ourselves to feel these feelings? Welcome the feelings. And then when we're ready, when we feel like we fully felt the feeling, let it go. Release the feeling. Allow yourself to feel the feeling and let it go. So you can regulate, then you can release. And what's really cool about releasing is you'll sometimes start to see your situation differently. So if you have a conversation that you're not looking forward to, and every time you think of that conversation, an emotion comes up, allow yourself to feel it. So think of the conversation, allow yourself to feel it, and then let it go. You can just say, could I let this go? Would I let this go? When? And ask yourself, who would I be without this feeling? And that's where you really get the perception shift. You get the change of who you're being. You start to see yourself more objectively. And it's, a lot of people have told me it's like a weight has come off their shoulders. So regulate and release. The other one is to revisit. So this is where we start to get into the mindset stuff. Those other ones were kind of somatic and feeling based, but now we can start to get into the mindset, and we want to revisit our beliefs. If you were to fill out the sentence, complete the sentence, who am I? Or sorry, I am ... I am what? I am smart, or I'm stupid, or I'm lazy, or I'm disorganized. You can start to catch yourself. And this is your identity. These are the beliefs that you truly believe are true about yourself. Some of them are helping you and some of them are not. So some of them are serving you to reach your highest potential, and some of them are getting in the way of you and limiting you. And so these programs, these beliefs came from an experience where something happened and then you judged yourself based on that experience. So let's say you didn't have a lot of friends when you were growing up. You might say, I don't make friends easily, or I'm antisocial, or I'm introverted, or what. We have thousands of these beliefs about ourselves, and we've never actually stopped, written them down, and went through them to question them, to revisit those beliefs and ask ourselves, do I really want to keep this belief? Okay, I'm introverted. That is a belief. Because I guarantee you, I could work with you and I could go through and find 20 to 50 moments in your life where you were outgoing, extroverted, playful, free, uninhibited, wild, whatever it is. And when you realized that you needed to be in a certain situation, doing a certain task, being around certain people, that you are extroverted and it all just comes out of you. So you are not just introverted, you are also extroverted. It's just you have both, but you never fully embodied that. You never fully revisited that belief and went back and looked at it and questioned it and expanded yourself on it. So when we revisit these beliefs, we are taking the limitation off and we're allowing ourselves to expand. And we're finding that evidence. We're finding that evidence for the contrary. And when you get enough of that and you believe it's true, it gets into your subconscious mind. So that's the revisit. The next one is rebalancing. So rebalancing is using the Demartini Method. And if you've never done the Demartini Method before, then this is like, it's an experience that most of us have never had before. It's a set of questions, and you go through the set of questions, and the questions create a shift in your perception like you wouldn't believe. It's kind of like when you look at those optical illusions and you're staring at it and you're staring at it. And it's like you might have been staring at this optical illusion for like 10 minutes and you just don't see it. And then your facilitator like myself or Dr. Demartini or whoever just tells you, don't give up. Just keep asking the question. Just focus on it. And then all of a sudden it freaking pops and you see the picture. You see the thing that you've been trying to see for the last 10, 20 minutes. And now that is with an optical illusion. Now imagine that was the worst experience of your life, maybe the most traumatic experience of your life. The same memory you've been playing in your head over and over and over again, and you saw it as a negative 1,000. Now imagine you could see that illusion, that optical illusion, that picture, that memory, completely different. You just had to look at that memory and get present in that memory and ask the question. And the question can vary because there's 14 or so questions, and it's like, but a very powerful question is, if this person was challenging you and the challenge was 1,000 and you perceived the support only being at like 1, 2, 0, now you go back into that memory and you ask yourself, who was supporting me? Who was doing the opposite? Who was being kind? Who was being caring? Who was being... And this is not an easy process, but this is the rebalancing process. And you can change your perception of that memory until you see not just half the picture, you see the full picture. And this is a life-changing technique. And I've witnessed people overcome serious trauma in less than an hour. That is the rebalancing. And then again, once you see it fully and completely, and you see the truth for as it is, it goes into your subconscious mind, and what you've been fearing or what you've been replaying in your mind now becomes whole, becomes complete, and you're no longer afraid of it, and you're no longer see it as all negative. I mean, you still see it as painful, but you also feel love. It's really what you end up feeling, is because love is not just all support. Love is not all challenge. And it's a balance. So when we perceive a balance of support and challenge in perfect balance, we get a tear in our eye and we feel love in our heart, and our heart opens. And the reason for that is because that is what is optimal for our growth as a soul. As a soul, when you receive both support and challenge simultaneously, that is causing you to grow. That is causing you to feel love. Anyways, like I said, something, if you haven't experienced it, I highly recommend it. It's something that is quite amazing. And that is the rebalance. Very difficult to explain, because if you haven't had it, if you haven't felt it, then it's difficult to explain the optical illusion when it pops. So the next part of this kind of manifestation or reprogramming is alignment. So getting realignment. So getting in alignment with your natural abilities, your natural traits. And this really happens when you stop subordinating. So Demartini Method helps with that. You start to see what you what you perceive in them, someone you put above you, when you start to see that in yourself, then you stop subordinating and you really start to get in touch with your true path and what's right for you. Because now you kind of, what other people's opinions aren't going to affect you as much. And what I really love to do with people is take them through the Strength Finder quiz and a few other personality quizzes to figure out what is their best alignment. And a lot of people sometimes have an idea, but other times they're like, I don't know my purpose. I don't know. It's like, because they've been in the educational system, they've been, trying to please their parents. They've been trying to fit in with their friends. And now they don't know what to do. So they might have finished high school or whatever. And now they just don't know themselves anymore. They've gotten disconnected from themselves. So what I like to do is to take them through some personality quizzes and start seeing where their natural tendencies are. So this can be difficult if you haven't first helped people to regulate, help people to release their emotions, help people to revisit their beliefs and question and expand their beliefs, and help people to rebalance their perception of themselves and of others and the world. Once you can see the world, others, and yourself as serving you, then now you can start aligning with your goals, what your natural, true talents are and your strengths are, and you can start to grow those, and you can start to see how you contribute, how you want to contribute to the world, how you want to give value. And so you can end up working or in a business or something, doing something that you love, something that you enjoy, and something that's in alignment with you. And as you are chasing those goals, as you are going for those big goals, you're going to run into more subconscious programming, more negative subconscious programming that is going to get in the way. And that's when, okay, now we need to go back. We need to do more work. We need to overcome those limitations. And every time we have a mission, we have a goal, we have a purpose, we're going to be challenging ourselves, and it's going to cause us to have to grow. And what I offer, what I love to do, is to teach people these tools and to take people through these tools and apply the tools on them and watch them expand, watch them unlock their potential, truly unlock their potential. And so that's the system I use. I help people reprogram their subconscious mind, overcome their limiting beliefs, release their emotions that are getting in their way of their goals, help them get in alignment with themselves. And I kind of just take them along the journey, and not only that, so there's more. So as throughout life is going to have challenges. Just being alive, we're going to lose people. People are going to pass away. Maybe not at an early age. So at an early age, you're going to be trying to figure out your life, trying to figure out your relationships, get married, or find a partner, get married, which can be challenging as well. But life, maybe before that even happens, you're going to have breakups. You're going to have broken heart. And life throws those things at you. You might get cheated on. You might, whatever. You might fail. You might have unemployment. And you can get really down on yourself. And then as you get older, maybe now you start to lose friends, or there might be changes in the market. And that means you need to change jobs. You need to change, you might need to move. There's going to be challenges that are just as a part of life. You might have conflict at work. You might have conflict at home with the family, with the relatives. Like I said, as you get older to your middle age, that's when, married people start getting divorced. People start questioning their whole life. Like I did a video on midlife crisis where people will start to question their whole life after one of their parents passes away or gets sick. You have to deal with grief. And the grief might not even be someone passing away. It could be the kids moving out. You have to deal with your own health challenges. You have to deal with you growing old. So life throws just your regular stressors at you. And so what I also like to do is to take people to help them adapt through the journey of life so that they don't need to suffer unnecessarily. They can take these events and make meaning out of them. They can see how these events are actually benefiting them and serving them and helping them also to grow at the level of the soul. And I know I've mentioned the soul a couple of times already. So what I do in my coaching is I take practical, I take psychology, philosophy, but I also look at things from the level of the soul. And I've discovered through looking at things from the level of the soul, it really solves a lot of the problems. And the person I'm coaching doesn't actually need to believe that there is a soul and there's a soul journey and all of this other stuff, but I've come to believe that there is. And I've come to believe that energy, that we are energy, everything is energy, matter is energy condensed into solid form. And energy cannot be created nor destroyed. And this is what I've realized is if everything is a form of energy, then that is also true for us. And that is also true for our consciousness. And therefore, our consciousness cannot be destroyed. Meaning, when we leave our body, when our container finally gives out, it can no longer contain something, and I would call that our consciousness or our soul. That consciousness doesn't just vanish. It moves into a different form, just like if you were to burn wood, the wood turns into ash and smoke. And there is an infinite existence for our soul and for our consciousness. If I guide myself and others to think in terms of unlimited, infinite capacity, then there's no pain. But the moment you put a limitation, an ending, the moment you put a finite ending or a cap or a limit, or you take a person and you judge them and you put them in a box and you say this is what they are, so you label them, or you label yourself and you limit yourself, the moment you add any limitation, there's pain. But the moment you release that limitation, the pain is gone. And what I've realized is pain is a signal. Emotional pain and physical pain is a signal. But the emotional pain is just a signal that's telling us your thinking is untrue. Your thinking you're thinking in terms of limitation. And as long as you think in terms of limitation, which is not the truth, you're going to feel this pain. And the moment your perception sees reality, what is, which is energy is unlimited, cannot be destroyed, has no end, you're going to feel peace. And so as I'm coaching people, as I'm guiding people, I'm helping them to see the infinite nature of their being. And when they see the infinite nature of their being, and they see their soul journey, and they see why everything has happened, they start to see, what they get to see is the divine order of things. They start to see the divine order, that the events in their lives have benefited them. And that if they haven't had those events in their lives, they would have been missing out. And again, this is also part of the Demartini Method. What I essentially am guiding people to see is that they are infinite beings, and that there are no limitations to their soul. And I mean, maybe they'll get so far in this life journey, but in the end, their soul is going to continue to grow and develop and to expand. And they're going to expand their capacity to love and to connect and to feel. Like every time we feel, when we stop resisting the feeling, every time we allow ourselves to feel a feeling, it's like we level up. It's like we've just gained points somehow. And it's like, now we can say, yeah, I've been through that. I went through that feeling. I know what that's like. It's like you've just gained experience, and you get through the feeling. So you stop avoiding the feeling. You stop running away from the feeling. You finally say, okay, let's feel it, whether, it's anger, it's grief, it's whatever. Let it in. Just feel it. It might take a day, an hour, 15 minutes, a week, a month, 6 months, and then let it go. Just feel it and let it go. Feel it and let it go. And it's powerful. It's powerful. You grow through allowing yourself to feel. And I've said this before in other videos. It's like we don't avoid people, places, or things. We just avoid feelings. We avoid the feeling we have around those people, or in that place, or around those things. And if you can get through those feelings and integrate those feelings, you'll be fine. You'll be fine around those people, those places, those things. And you don't have to have these blocks in your way, getting in the way of your goals, getting in the way of your missions. Now, there was one other point I wanted to say. I do have a community on School. It's SKOOL. And there's an app. And if you go to the app and you go to the School website, it's called Elevate Your Consciousness. And I have a bit of content in there, and I have some meditations. And what I've found is, when I'm coaching people, I'll take them through an exercise, and the moment they close their eyes and I walk them through a coaching exercise, that's where all the magic is happening. That's where the change is happening. That's where the subconscious programming is happening. It's when they have their eyes closed and they're in a state of near meditation. And so I decided to kind of focus on that and create some meditations. I have a few meditations. One of them is healing your inner child. One of them is unconditional self-love. Another one is faith and trust meditation. So faith and trust, what inspired me to create faith and trust was the book Think and Grow Rich. And it really talks about faith in that book and believing that things are going to work out for in your benefit. And I realized that the opposite of faith and trust is fear and doubt. And a lot of the time we are automatically, right, subconsciously, automatically fearing and doubting a certain outcome. So there's a goal we want to do, and then, this might happen. They're going to think this, and what? All this fear and doubt starts flowing in automatically. So this is an exercise, a meditation where you just practice putting yourself in the state of faith and trust. Faith is like more outward, externally focused, and trust is more internally focused. So you're in a state of things are going to be fine externally, and I'm going to be fine. I believe in myself. I trust myself. And it's developing that feeling, that state. So you sort of change the channel from fear and doubt to faith and trust, and it's just a habit. So there's that. And there's also another one. It's a non-dual meditation, and it's basically what it will do is take you from a very low feeling, very depressed, very down, maybe shame, maybe grief, and it brings you up, and it brings you to neutrality. And really what it does is it allows you to feel all the feelings. You've given yourself permission. I allow myself to feel grief, and I allow myself to feel joy. I allow myself to feel anger, and I allow myself to feel love. So it really takes you through a 10-minute meditation of like just a wave of different feelings, and you're giving yourself full permission to feel the whole spectrum. And I have a few that are in the works. I want to. There's an emotional releasing one to help unlock action that I'm working on, and a self-image upgrade that I'm working on too. So there's some in there, and then I have some other more videos about the map of consciousness, introduction to levels of emotion and mindfulness. You can check out unlockingpotential.ca, unlockingpotential.ca. And also I have my coaching website, spencelifecoaching.com. And there's some blog posts there. But yeah, it'd be cool if people joined the school community. Elevate your consciousness. Keep listening to the podcast, and I'll keep rambling. Hopefully you guys like this. I just went all over. I just kind of went crazy today to get in there and do that meditation. And yeah, I look forward to seeing you guys in the school community.